Hey there, welcome to Main Street Living. I am Cheryl Nelson.
And I'm Valerie Tutson.
And I'm Brandy Paul.
Ladies, it's so good to see you. We have girl power on today's show. It is Ladies Hour. And it got me thinking because we're wrapping up Women's History Month. So many amazing women to talk about. So, who would you say is the most inspirational woman in your life? Valerie?
Well, I've been so lucky to
Or
have some
Brandy?
incredible. I'm so excited to talk about it,
just want
guys.
to jump in.
So I've had a couple different careers, and they've all helped me meet these amazing women who lead us. And one of them works for Cox in the Omaha market, Ann Harris. She is such a mentor to other women, kind of guiding them and just giving them positive support. It's great.
I love that. Oh, it's so important too when you see other powerful women in the workplace as well, being such an inspiration and role model for others. And Valerie, what about you?
You know, I have women from history who inspire me all the time. But
Mhm.
today I'm thinking about my mom. Her name was Nan Tutson, and she was bold enough, brave enough. She married a Black man in the 1960s, and that was not an easy thing. So I think about her. And I also think about my woman in training, my daughter, Joya.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so nice. And family, obviously, so important too. For me, it's my late grandma, Eleanor, and she's just so cute. I miss her every day. She was 90 in that picture, lived to be 93, but her morals just kind of live on through her memory.
I love it. And we're going to continue those wonderful women, celebrating women today. Cox champions women all over the country. You're going to learn about one.
Yes, and we're also going to get to talk with an amazing doctor who can help us be better in all ways around allergies and health. Really interesting.
So many amazing and inspiring women. So that's what we're going to kick off with in our next segment. Stay tuned with more on Main Street Living.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. We are wrapping up Women's History Month, but just because March is over, that doesn't mean we should stop paying attention to remarkable women, both from our past and right here today.
Brandy, that's right. And one place you can find inspiration and information about trailblazing women is at the Women's Museum of California in San Diego. Longstanding board member Sue Gonda is here to tell us more about it. We're so excited. Welcome to the show. Good to see you, Sue.
Thank you for having me.
So, why did you decide to get involved with this museum and be a board member for so long? And how long ago was that?
Well, it was quite a while ago. The founder, the co-founder, lead person of the museum was a woman named Mary Maskell, and she founded the museum back in 1983. But it wasn't a museum. It was more like collections in her home. And she would go out and give talks to kids in the community, women's groups. And it became a museum in the mid 90s. And I went to the opening and Mary Maskell was there. And you don't say no to Mary. I was a grad student in American history. I specialized in the history of women. And when Mary heard that, she cornered me on the sidewalk and said, "You need to be a member of this board." And I said, "Okay." So I've been a board member since '96.
They're not going to let you go.
Yes.
So I imagine, Sue, that you are well acquainted with all of the things that are in the museum. Can you talk about what's featured in there?
Yes. Well, what we actually have two locations now. Our archives are with the San Diego History Center in Balboa Park, which we're very happy to be partnering with, and we're thrilled with them. We also are at the Jacob Center in Southeast San Diego, and we have a crafting exhibit at the museum at the moment that's going to change soon because this will be our 40th anniversary of the museum. So
Wow.
we always have exhibits, and we have many exhibits that we like to take out into the community. They've been in libraries, they've been at City Hall, they've made the rounds over the decades.
And so some of these exhibits, they sound very unique. So let's talk about some of the unique things that people can find at the Women's Museum of California. And how is the museum different from, say, other historical museums?
Well, there are only, I'm going to say this, and I'm pretty sure I'm still accurate, two other brick and mortar museums devoted to women's history in general. Now there's cowgirl museums and there's, houses that belong to Susan B. Anthony and so forth.
Right.
But in terms of a museum that has exhibits and educational programs, there's only one other one, and that's in upstate New York. And the other one in Washington, D.C. isn't going to open for 10 years. So we're the only one that does this generalized program devoted to women's history, mostly U.S., but we also partner with international groups in the San Diego County area to do international themes around women in the Middle East, around Muslim women, other programs that, I guess what I want to say is our life's blood is partnering with other organizations. And so that's what makes us really unique, is the ability to talk about women in a variety of capacities. And that's where our focus is.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you are not just stuck in the box over there, right?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
And
at all.
I think the other thing that makes us unique is our archives. We have women's suffrage archives from the turn of the 20th century. There was a local woman in California, Alice Park, and Mary Maskell was able to get a hold of some of her archives, and the rest of them are in the Huntington Library and other prestigious museums, and we've got a good chunk of them, including correspondence from Susan B. Anthony, and she would collect everything. We had signs from suffrage meetings. We have lots of memorabilia that makes it really fun. So it's really relevant to women's right to vote and what's going on with diversity in voting in our own time. So the suffrage movement is really relevant to today.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and the Women's Museum of California is more than just a space to look at the displays, right? You also host various programs and events. So tell us about some of those and why you think those are also important.
Well, they are ways to put a light on women in ways that aren't usually shown in the media. The Women's Hall of Fame, which was this month, I co-founded with Olivia Puentes Reynolds back in 2001 and 2. And when we were creating this, what we wanted to do was to show how women created San Diego. Women don't get credit for the fact that they have been community builders all over the world. Our communities, going back to the native societies, and then the immigrants coming in from England and France and colonizing, they would not have survived without women's work. Women literally built San Diego. And so the inductees to the Hall of Fame show what women have been doing to build San Diego. And when we have Women's Equality Day, which happens in August, and that also highlights the ways in which organizations are still to this day working to give women an equal opportunity in a variety of sectors in society, because that fight is not over.
No, absolutely. And yes, you mentioned the Hall of Fame induction for women's ceremony, which has happened. And Melissa Jones helped organize that event. And now she is here to tell us more about it and the incredible women who were honored. So, Melissa, we want to bring you in and welcome you. Thanks for joining us here. Tell us a little bit about, from your perspective, the Women's Hall of Fame and some of your past inductees.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the Women's Hall of Fame is such a spectacular program. And like Sue mentioned earlier, our lifeblood is partnerships. So one of the exciting things about the Hall of Fame is that it's not just the museum organizing it, but it's the San Diego County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls and SDSU Women's Studies Department and the UC San Diego Women's Center. We all get together to honor these women and really, you know, our past inductees really run the gamut of San Diego women. Some are just, your local neighborhood teachers who they're just really inspirational, and maybe they went to City Hall and just petitioned to get a pothole filled in the street, and they might think that wasn't significant, but they were, and they helped change San Diego, all the way up to notable women that even people across the nation or international would know, like Sally Ride, the first American woman astronaut, is in our Hall of Fame.
Can you tell us a little bit about how people are chosen to be a part of the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, so our nominations are public, so anyone can go to our website and submit a nomination of a woman that they feel has, had a positive impact in San Diego. And the 4 partner organizations create a committee of representatives from those organizations, and they sit down and read all the nominations, which can take a very long time, but I'm always so impressed with the dedication and the enthusiasm it is to read through these nominations that the public have so lovingly and dedicated their time to submit. And basically, the committee decides who gets inducted each year through a conversation on diversity and impact, and what does it mean to empower women in San Diego.
Yeah. Oh, it's just so much. And I love talking about this. We do have to take a quick break, but stay with us. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to hear more about the amazing women who were inducted into the Hall of Fame. So stay right here.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. We are back with Sue, Gonda, and Melissa Jones from the Women's Museum of California.
Oh, this is a great interview, ladies. Thanks again for staying with us here in Main Street Living. And Melissa, I want to go back to you. Let's talk about your most recent 2023 Women's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tell us about that evening and just a couple little things about the women who were honored this year.
Yeah, it was a great ceremony. It was our first actual in-person ceremony since 2019. The past few years we've done virtual. So it was so fantastic to see the community show up and celebrate these women. This year we had 8 inductees, ranging from Norma Chavez Peterson from the ACLU, Mayor Mary Salas, who was the first Latina mayor in San Diego County, Juana Machado, who was a midwife in the 1800s, Huma Ahmed Ghosh, who was professor of women's studies at SDSU, Amy Forsyth, who was a military journalist, Patricia McCader, who's a corporate lawyer, Holly Smithson, who's the CEO of Athena, which is a group that elevates women in STEM. And for the first time ever, we inducted a women's organization. So we're really proud to induct Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest for the work they do in helping women access affordable healthcare.
Wow, that's wonderful. I know you said it was in person, but are there ways that viewers can experience the museum or learn about the Hall of Fame inductees if they're not in San Diego?
Yes, if you go to our website, we have digital exhibits and downloadable activities, ways for educators to incorporate women's history in the classroom. And specifically for the Hall of Fame, we create videos every year, interviews with the inductees, which you can access online, as well as bios of the women. So it's just a wealth of information and education to educate everyone about these incredible women.
And you've got a lot more planned, Melissa. Tell us what's next for the museum.
Yes, as Sue mentioned earlier, it's our 40th anniversary. So we are going to, go out and celebrate that milestone with the community. We're going to have a 40th anniversary exhibit, which really is going to highlight not just the past 40 years of the museum, but how the museum has been an active participant in the women's movement to create a more equal society for us all. as well as our partnership with the San Diego International Film Festival, where we do a women's film series. So we pick movies to screen that not only are showcase women in front of the camera, but also have women behind the camera, directing, writing, and producing. And we have just our normal regular programs, walking tours, field trips for students, workshops. It's just, there's so much stuff always happening at our museum.
Well, that sounds so exciting and wonderful. So Sue, before we go, how can viewers get more information about the Women's Museum of California?
Well, that's pretty easy. You can go to our website at womensmuseumca.org, and it's very easily navigatable to be able to find out about the history of women in San Diego, as well as our programs and any events that are coming up that you'll sure to want to be a part of. And I really encourage everyone to become a member of the museum. That's very easy to do. That's on the website. For $60, you can have all kinds of benefits of coming to events, getting the first information. There's information that you get that no one else does because you get it in a hardcover, old-fashioned snail mail newsletter, and discounts. And there's also swag to buy online. So be sure to do that too.
Yes, always like that swag. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing this with us. We're so proud of everything you're doing, and thanks for honoring those incredible women.
Totally inspiring.
Thank
Up
you.
next, we will. Up next, we're going to continue celebrating remarkable women. So stay with us.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Brandy, Valerie, we are celebrating Women's History Month. And as the name implies, we take this opportunity to honor women in history.
Absolutely. But Women's History Month is also about empowering women today and building a better world for women of the future.
Let's meet some of Cox's inspiring leaders who know that through March and all year long, together, we are more.
I'm inspired every day. Many times it's single moms who are raising children and holding down and growing their careers. It's young women that are building their careers. It's those mothers that are raising young, teenagers, but also taking care of aging parents, and just how everyone shows up every day.
My mom was a big inspiration to me growing up. I grew up in a neighborhood with mostly boys, and I wanted to play baseball. I didn't want to play softball. I wanted to play baseball. And one of my big vivid memories is my mom going down to the rec center and knocking on the door going, I want my girl to be able to play Little League baseball. And 2 weeks later, I was out playing second base with the Little League team.
Yeah, I think of all the women that came before me that paved the way for me to get to where I am today. I think about my late grandmother, who did a lot of work in the community, fighting for Nigeria's independence. And then I think about myself, where I am. I'm here, I feel blessed to be able, as a woman, bring my whole self to work, to this conversation.
I think supporting each other in the workplace is truly having each other's back, and making sure that, we tell people, like it is. And I think only women can support women in that way.
We have the opportunity to be a cheerleader for every woman we meet. And I want us to have that approach of cheering the loudest. The table is big enough. We can all pull up a chair.
We want to make sure that we're building up other women so that they will be able to take our seats and be at the table and have a voice that's heard and respected.
It is that lifting of each other that I think is incredibly important, that we must do for each other.
Ultimately, it's really important to have supporters by your side, because it's one of the key catalysts for giving you that courage and that resilience to do new things.
Remember, your career is not a sprint, it's a journey. Lead with your head and your heart.
You've got this, and no matter what plan you come up with, it is not going to go at all the way you envisioned, and you're going to have this amazing life with success beyond what you could dream.
It's okay to make mistakes. You honestly will get past it. It's not the end of the world. You'll learn from it in the long run.
Choose something which you're passionate about and work hard towards it. You know, you need to work hard, you need the resilience. Don't give up. Go after that passion, and in doing so, have fun.
You are enough. You are fine just like you are. Be your authentic self. Don't ever let anybody try to change you. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough, because you are.
Together,
we are more.
I love that. The table is big enough for everyone, so pull up a chair.
Oh, girl power, camaraderie. Love that.
Absolutely. All right, we're talking about friends, right? Be a girl's friend, support her. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about food and when it is not your friend.
Ooh.
Welcome back, everyone, to Main Street Living. If you have noticed that you don't get those little packets of peanuts on the airplane anymore, you probably know it's because peanut allergies are on the rise.
Yeah, that's right. And unfortunately, it's quite common. Around 20% of people have some kind of food allergy or sensitivity. With that, Dr. Jill Hart is here to shine some light on this. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So just mentioned, it seems like those food allergies are on the rise, as well as intolerances. Are these things we're born with? Do they develop over time? How does that work?
Well, we aren't actually born with allergies or intolerances, but as soon as we come into existence, we're bombarded with all sorts of things, including foods, and our body, unfortunately, can start to react either in the form of an allergy, an IgE reaction, or in the form of an intolerance or sensitivity.
Yeah, it's so interesting how that happens, because I remember when I was a kid, personally, I could eat anything, but I remember having stomach issues as a teenager, and I didn't figure out why until I was an adult and got some food allergy testing. And now I know that I have intolerances to gluten and also dairy. So this is something that seems like it's becoming more common, or maybe just more well known. But what are some of the most common foods that give people trouble?
Well, when we look at allergies, true allergies, that immediate reaction, the foods there are things like your cow's milk, eggs, peanuts, nuts, shellfish, etc. But when it comes to sensitivities, and this is where York tests are expert, you're looking at a wide range of foods, any food that's got sort of proteins in. So it could be foods like your cow's milk or eggs, or it could be foods that you might not think about as being reactive, your fruits and vegetables, your pulses, lentils, things like that as well. So there's quite a range of different foods that you can be sensitive to.
So sensitivity, intolerance, allergy, is there a difference between the terminology, severity of response, or is it all kind of the same?
So your allergies are your immediate reactions to foods. You could have tingling in your mouth, you could be sick. And that's, you need medical intervention because it could be life-threatening. It's very severe. Whereas food sensitivities or intolerances are less impactful in terms of the severity, but they can be very impactful on your life. It might be with irritable bowel, digestive problems, migraines, headaches, chronic things that are ongoing for people every day. It might be things like low energy and low mood. And a lot of time people live with their symptoms thinking it's normal. It's just normal for them. Actually, when it isn't, and there are things that can be done to help.
Yeah, and that's the hard part too, because I remember for a long time I would tell the doctors, "Hey, I've got these GI symptoms," and they're going, "There's nothing wrong with you." And finally, somebody looked and tested for the foods. And so, can people be allergic to something and not necessarily realize it, or is it something that, bam, you're going to see it right away?
Well, with allergies, different to sensitivities.
Right.
With allergies, if you haven't, you haven't come across that food, you might not know that you've got a reaction to it. So if you don't eat something, you might suddenly eat something, a couple of times, and then suddenly, have that reaction to it. With the ongoing food sensitivities, I think quite often people don't realize that they're reacting to something. They might think their migraine's due to, a glass of red wine or a chocolate or something like that. And actually it might not be. It might be due to yeast or cow's milk or something else. And so that's where testing really does come in and help, actually, in terms of food sensitivity testing.
So if we want to find that out, should we go to our general practitioner? Should we go to a specialist clinic for testing? Should we food log? How do you find those things out?
Well, for an allergy, an immediate severe reaction, I'd always recommend going to see your medical practitioner. At York Test, we've been offering food sensitivity testing since 1998 now, and we actually developed one of the first food sensitivity tests. And at York Test, you can actually do this from a finger prick of blood in the comfort of your own home, and the samples take, very easy to do. The samples sent back to our accredited laboratory, where you can actually it's then analysed by our specialist scientists. And results are sent back to you in a really easy to understand format. They're graded 0 to 100, and you can see very clearly which are your high reactivity foods and which are, those foods that are normal reactivity.
Wow.
And I've heard of something called the elimination diet, where you find out the foods that you're sensitive to, and then you eliminate them for a period of time, whether that be weeks, months, et cetera, and slowly introduce them back into your diet. Is this something that you recommend, or are you saying that if you find something that you're sensitive to, you've got to avoid that for the rest of your life? Because personally, I would love to eat pizza again.
So for allergies, I'd certainly, suggest that you avoid things for the rest of your life. But for sensitivities, you can, yes, an elimination diet is what we recommend based on the testing that we do at York Test. And then after a period of, say, 3 months of removing the food from your diet and looking after your gut in that time, maybe taking some probiotics, keeping healthy, you can start to introduce those foods back into your diet really slowly, one at a time, and see what you can tolerate. With me, I'm really reactive to cow's milk. I've been testing myself for many years, and I know now that I can actually tolerate a small amount of that. Tea or coffee is absolutely fine. But if I go and have ice cream or, cheese or something like that, I start to suffer again. So it's an elimination diet, which, we recommend, because we're giving people choices at York Test. We're starting with good evidence for what people are reacting to, and giving people choices then about what they, we suggest they eliminate first, and then people can find out how much they can tolerate after a while. But food intolerances and sensitivities aren't necessarily for life, and that's the good thing.
All right, so I'm just stunned by this. One simple test can tell you all that. How do people find out more about York Test if they're interested?
And also, too, to throw this in, how is York Test different than other tests out there? Because I know there's a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, the York Test measures something called food-specific IgG. It's an antibody in blood. We invented one of the first food-specific IgG antibody tests in existence in 1998. We've probably tested over 500,000 tests over the period of time. So we've got a really good efficacy and good evidence base for what we do.
Okay.
And for people can find out more by going to our website, yorktest.com/US. And it is available, widely for people to use and use from their own home as well.
Great resource. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I could talk to her all day. It's so interesting, Brandy, to talk about all of that stuff. And speaking of interesting, I'm going to climb to new heights. Stay tuned, because coming up next on Main Street Living, come ski with me in South Lake Tahoe.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. All right, you see her right there, my girl Cheryl. We know she loves to travel. You recently just got back from an around the globe adventure, which we got to hear a little bit more about last week.
Yes, go to our YouTube page, Your View, and find it. Watch last week's show if you missed it, because it was amazing. Ladies, I went to several countries in Asia and also South Africa. I had a fantastic eye-opening trip.
I am just a wee bit jealous. That's all good. Yeah, right, Brandy? But before that, Cheryl, you also got to attend a weather conference in California. And it looked pretty beautiful out there too. So let's take a look at what got you up on the top of that beautiful mountain.
Hey guys, I am at beautiful South Lake Tahoe at Heavenly Mountain Resort, part of the Operation Sierra Storm Weather Conference. Love coming out here every year, and this has been probably the best year for snow in a long time, and I'm with the perfect person to talk about it. He is the president of Ski California, Mike Reitzel. Thanks so much for joining us here. What an exciting year for you. Let's talk a little bit about the recent snow and what this has done for tourism.
Well, it has been a tremendous year for us. We're super excited. I mean, last weekend was one of the best weekends probably we've had in years. We've got 20, 30 feet of snow, depending on where you go. So we are ready to go for the rest of the year.
We always like to hear that. And one of the challenges, though, when you get all of this snow, obviously, is digging out. And I heard some of the chairlifts were, buried almost? How did you get them out? And how did you get operations back up and running?
Chairlifts not only get buried, but lodges get buried, and runs are buried, and rope lines, and everything you see on a mountain gets buried. And it's up to the resort crews to come out here and literally lift the resort essentially above the snow. And the only way to do that is dig, and dig a little more. And they've done an amazing job to get things open.
They really have. You see the roads here, and they're just lined with snow. It's almost like a bowling alley, and you have bumpers up on the sides there. But as far as people coming out here, how has tourism compared this year to previous years where you maybe haven't had as much snow?
Well, it is a real simple formula out here. When it snows, people are going to come. And that certainly happened with these recent snows, and we love it. I mean, we want people to come out here and have an amazing time. And right now we're in this perfect storm, if you will, of great snow and great weather. So it's been amazing to have.
Let's talk about climate change a little bit and the impacts on the ski industry. I know there's been prolonged drought for California, but all of a sudden we're getting atmospheric river after atmospheric river bringing in all this moisture. So what do you think that is doing overall, drought compared to now all of this snow?
Well, it's really what we have to deal with as an industry, especially here in California, is that we get these volatile extremes where it's one year we have a drought year where we're really fighting for the snow, and then we have a year like this where it just comes in waves. So it really is a big challenge for us as an industry. You know, it's something that we're going to have to become accustomed to because we understand this really is the future with climate change. But we're doing everything we can to mitigate it and hopefully advocate for more change in Washington, D.C. or wherever we need to do it.
Absolutely. And so this is probably going to be a long ski season, which is great for California. But what happens when all of this snow starts to melt? That's probably good for your reservoirs, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially again in California, we really rely upon that Sierra snowmelt working its way down the hill in the spring and early summer. And, you know, we're going to look forward to that this year. And hopefully it has a big impact on this year's drought. And so we can have a nice normal summer, hopefully, and going into next year as well.
All right, I got to tell you, if you're on Instagram, Twitter, social media, just follow Cheryl. Her handle's going to pop up. She has the best adventures. And when you follow all the pictures, it's almost like you're there yourself. Almost.
Oh, Brandy, you're so sweet. I love that. And guys, this was an incredible trip as well. You can find out more information about the various California ski resorts and the snow conditions, which are still phenomenal, by the way, on the skicalifornia.org website.
I love it. I love it. There hasn't been much skiing out here in Rhode Island, so check it out. And next up, meet an inspiring woman teaching tech.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. You know, throughout our lives, we all need someone that we can look up to. Maybe they can highlight a path towards our goals, because sometimes that path isn't always clear.
Mhm. And Karen Ahern is on a mission to show her students that if they choose, they can have a bright future in a technology career.
Karen's commitment to her students and her craft is just one of the reasons she's being honored during Women's History Month. Take a look.
The biggest impact I would like to make for my students is I want them to realize their full potential and understand that as long as they have a work ethic and focus, that they can take on careers that might have seemed inaccessible before, like technology, for example. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and I just want them to have a great life.
I think she deserves to be featured during Women's History Month because she's a very passionate and dedicated woman. And as a result, she's been very successful. And I think that other women can look up to her story and pull or take inspiration from it.
Karen makes an impact on her students by being a positive role model, by setting good standards, by respecting their opinions, and making sure that they know that she truly cares about their success here at CSN.
I would say the way she teaches is what I enjoy most about her classes. I'm a very hands-on student. I like to, see it up close and personal. I like to touch components, and so I feel like she does a very good job of integrating different learning styles into her lecture.
We have a lot of students here that are first-generation college students. They come from a really diverse background, so it's great when they don't realize that they can learn technology and be a computer technician or a systems admin.
Her passion for teaching and being a part of the industry is really important because she paves the way for students' success. So her leading style, her teaching style makes her uniquely qualified to have positive impact on a student's success.
She's definitely impacted me by way of the knowledge and guidance she brings. More than just her being a professor, she's also a mentor. And so I'm able to, ask her about certain things related to my personal goals, and she's able to give me tips or advice about how I should move to be successful.
I enjoy the students' appreciation. They come in very eager to learn, and they kind of look to me to guide them, and it's really nice that all of the things that I've learned over my 15-year plus career in information technology before I became a professor, I can pass that experience down to them.
Unfortunately, in the IT industry, there's a lack of female students, so it's really important to bring that perspective of female students into our courses and our programs. So it's really important to have someone, a good advocate for having more female recruits in our IT programs.
So this is my last semester here at CSN. I have an internship with Cisco lined up for the summer out in San Francisco, which Karen did help me prepare for, so I'm very thankful to her for that.
It's very important for girls and women to pursue this field because technology is everywhere, and it needs to be designed and managed with input from our entire community, and half of our community is female, so it's really important that all of those really smart females out there are aware that this is a career field.
I love that. I love the phrase, you never know who is watching. Just put your best self out there, because you never know if you're inspiring another little girl, a little boy, just someone who wants to see the good in other people.
Oh, just by being yourself. And Karen is amazing. Congratulations to her. But guys, don't go anywhere, because coming up, we still have more Main Street Living. Stick around.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. What fun it was to celebrate women today with you, beautiful women,
Absolutely.
too.
For
Yes.
sure.
Yes, it's ladies hour. We've had girl power all day. Love celebrating that with you both.
And it is an honor to get to work with you guys, as well as Danielle, every week here on Main Street Living. You can always watch us on the go if you want to get in on the girl power. Just download the Cox Contour app, sign in, and search for your view.
Absolutely. And don't forget, we have new episodes of Main Street Living Mondays at 9 p.m. local time. So make sure you join us then as we take another stroll down Main Street.